thank you for your time today. I was really hoping for this. I've been following you from a long time now, and I have been following HeyCoach as well. Congratulations for that, first of all.
Thank you so much, Siddharth.
I had something I wanted to ask exactly because you are now in HeyCoach looking for the recruitments, placements, and things like that. So, how do you see this recruitment industry actually growing apart from like last decade itself? It has changed a lot. So, how do you see it as growing, evolving from there?
Sure. Let me talk about the recruitment in the tech space because that's what I'm very closely related to. Right. So a decade ago, there were very few openings in companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, these MAANG companies.
Right.
And the whole reason for that is because these companies were just startups 10 years ago or 15 years ago.
That's
right. Back then, it was mainly IBM and Xerox, these kind of companies that were hiring.
Companies, yeah.
Right. And their requirement was very small in number because we have slowly started entering the tech era. Before that, it was never a tech era. It was more like mechanical era, more things to do with a lot of your physics and mechanical stuff. It was all industrial things and so on. And right now, it's the tech revolution that is happening, and that's why there is this MAANG term that has been coined.
That's
right. Just to give you a little bit of context, MAANG is not because they recruit the best of the best engineers. The MAANG keyword has been coined because of the growth in stocks. Right. These businesses have given enormous returns over the past few years, and that's exactly why these companies are the ones that people really want to go to. Right. This is where the wealth is formed. This is where people make a lot of money. Right. Now, coming back to the recruitment question that you asked me. Back then, recruitment was done in a very manual process because the number of positions to be filled were very few in number, right? But today, if you see, let's just come 10 years later right now, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, these companies have been hiring 10,000 to 20,000 engineers year over year, right, over the last 3-4 years. And the main reason for that is because of the phenomenal growth that they have been achieving in the company itself. The products that they're building, it is all scaling all around the world, right? So the kind of recruitment has to adjust to the number of positions which are open. You cannot have a manual recruitment process like we used to have 10 years ago, right? So that's why things have started getting automated, right? If you've noticed, these companies have automated the screening rounds now. For example, the first 2 rounds, you don't even talk to a Google recruiter. You don't even talk to a Google engineer. Right? It's all either through HackerRank, HackerOut, one of these platforms where they give you an online assessment link. You go give the test at your own convenient time, and based on your results, they basically check if you are eligible to even go to an on-site round or a face-to-face round. Right? So the way I see it right now, this is the situation, and over the next 5 years or over the next 10 years, we're going to see a lot more automations coming into place. Right, we are not going to have the same thing continue because it all involves manual processes, right? It still involves a lot of manual processes.
That's
You'll see a lot of interview bots, a lot of companies adopting to AI/ML practices wherein they are able to automate the entire interview process with a server or with a computer taking the interview. It's not going to be humans taking interviews anymore. Right? No matter what you call it, it is a boring process, right? It is a manual repeated process. You get a set of 5 questions which you ask each and every candidate. Maybe you still have the choice to pick your own questions and so on, but the number of questions are still limited, right? So a computer doing it is much better than a human spending time and doing repeated tasks. Right? So that's what I have.
On that point, I have one follow-up on that. So basically, for a person like me, I actually graduated in 2012 from the computer science, and I was also fascinated about getting into Google, Facebook, Apple, things like that. But we didn't have any idea. The industry was not grown. The tech industry was not even there back then. It was there, but on a very small scale. Now the industry has grown. Many major players are there. One of them is HeyCoach, and getting to that part, now the awareness is much more, right? So how do you really see for us getting into that, being that perfect fit for a company like MAANG or maybe any product-based companies? How do you see that, us getting there?
Okay, sure, Siddharth. So let me answer this question in 2 different ways, right? First, from the perspective of the learner, and second, from the perspective of us at HeyCoach itself. From the learner, we see a lot of enthusiasm these days for people to get into CS, to get into the IT industry, right? And the main reason for that is because they're looking at the job boom. They're looking at the boom in the tech industry, and they're like, these crazy packages are not going to get anywhere else, and that's why they want to jump into these companies, right? But the reality is, for you to survive, you need to make sure that software engineering actually interests you, right? Don't just jump in because there is a lot of demand in terms of jobs, or your friend got this 1 CR package and so on, right? It's not very often that people get these kind of packages as well, right? So be very careful and make sure you're passionate about software engineering, and only then make an entrance into the domain, right? Now, coming from the perspective of HeyCoach itself, what we're trying to do is we are emphasizing a lot on the education part of it, right? As you know, we do run something called a Super 13. I don't want to make this a promotional video and take it to that side, but then I'll quickly give you a gist of it, wherein we are laser focused to just taking 30 people in a batch, right? We do not take 31. It's exactly 30 people. We stop at 30. And the whole reason for this is because there have been a lot of scientific study and research done on this. You might have seen this back in school as well. There is no class that has more than 30-40 people sitting in the class. And you get a lot of personalized attention from the teacher. You get to ask your doubts and so on. There are a number of benefits. We're trying to take the same model and take it forward and make sure we are the best in terms of education and bringing in results. Right, so that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring in the results for people who are passionate about software engineering, who really want to get into the top tech product companies and make it big in their career. So that's how I see it.
Coming up to one more query that generally engineers actually face this a lot of this. So basically, the thing is that most of the people are not able to figure out what they should start with. So, like for example, there are many domains. For example, data science, right? So, why or why not they should go into data science, or how they should actually start their career, which domain they should study for, because there are many people coming from non-tech background as well, from mechanical, from civil, even from BCom and finance. I see people coming in. So, how would you like to address that particular query?
That's a wonderful question, Siddharth. And the whole reason I call it to be a wonderful question is I get at least 2 DMs on my LinkedIn every single day asking me about data science, SRE, Salesforce developer, XYZ things which are present in the computer science domain, in the IT industry, right? There are jobs in each and every domain, and that's exactly why they come and message me about it, and they're completely confused which one to pick, right? I have personally seen one single trend across my entire career and even before that, right? Let's take an example of 1980s or 1990s when the tech boom had just started, right? At that point, there was one role which was present for sure, which is software development. Because to build a simple operating system, you need to develop a software. It's a software at the end, right? So that's software development. Then let's come to 2005, 2006. That's when the web applications took a slow increase in terms of number of applications that were built, right? So that's when the www boom .com boom was present as well. So at that point, it was again software developers. Now you can tell me, hey, website needs to be hosted somewhere, so you need IT admins and server admins and so on to take care of it. I 100% agree to your point. But then what I'm trying to point out is software developers were present in 2006, 2007 as well. And in today's date, I want you to go to the careers page of Google, Microsoft, Amazon, any of these top tech product companies. You will see the most roles which are posted are for software development engineering roles, right? So if you are entering the IT field, or if you want to take a taste of it and understand how it works, I would highly recommend that you start off with a software development domain rather than specialize in machine learning, data science, any particular application developer and so on. Correct. Start off with software development engineering, and then if you start finding your mathematical models to be very attractive, you're very passionate towards maths and a lot of let's say statistics is something that interests you, machine learning is going to be your forte, right? But please don't go for it because there is boom, there are job openings, XYZ. That's not the way to look at it. Software development role has been present for the last 20 years and is definitely going to be present for the next 40, 50 years as well. So if you are looking for a secure career which will never go down, software development roles are the ones that you need to go to. Right now, there are transitions in the languages. Right, maybe in 1980s, it was never Java, C++ and all. It started off with C and assembly code.
Yes.
Nowadays, no one writes assembly. For that matter, even C programming is kind of losing touch these days. Same thing is going to happen even in the future. Programming languages are going to change. But as a role, a software development role is going to continue for the next 50, 60 years without a doubt. Right? So that's how I usually tackle these questions. Even on my LinkedIn, I never guide them and tell them, hey, please go and apply for machine learning or start your journey in machine learning. I always tell them that the best starting point is to be a generic software development engineer and then start specifically focusing on narrower areas or narrower verticals and become an expert at those domains.
Now, I know the time is a limit here, so I'll just come up with my last question.
Sure.
So the thing right now is that nowadays we are hearing a lot about recession. Companies, we see a lot of news posts about companies actually stopping to hire, like hiring freeze and things are happening. So how much do you agree with it? Is it really happening, or is it some kind of just kind of a rumor kind of thing where one person might have done it? Like, for example, Twitter, it is happening because there is change in the leadership, right? So because of it is happening and the company is in a different stage, like for example, Reddit, Facebook, Stanley. The companies are themselves facing some heat because of their some work, not exactly due to the actual recession or something, right? So is there a real recession that is going to happen soon enough, or is it really happening right now? What would you like to say about that?
Okay, perfect. So recession, in my opinion, is a very, it's a subjective word, because recession might happen at a country level, it might happen at a company level. Just Microsoft might go through recession, or just India might go through recession, or the entire world might go through recession. Right now, let's look at it from a little lower scale, not a bird's eye view, but let's come down into reality. I've been hearing news and a lot of layoffs happening from the start of 2022 itself. Right, that's when I actually started doing a little bit of research, and we figured out that it's not recession, but the entire tech boom is slowing down slightly. Right, that's how it started off with. But right now, in the current situation, as of October 2022 or November 2022, we are actually seeing a lot of predictions coming along that in the next quarter, which is the first quarter of 2023, we are going to see a lot of layoffs coming from the top tech companies. Right. At the same point, right now they have also frozen hiring, because taking in people and letting them go does not make sense. Right. So companies have slowed down. They are yet to take good decisions on how to proceed from this point. Right. That's what the current situation is. Now there is a small catch to this entire thing that I told you. I want to take an example of COVID and explain the same thing to you. During COVID, around 2020, when COVID struck us,
yes,
you might have seen that the exact same situation happened. Companies paused hiring because they had no idea what's going to happen. Right. Is this pandemic going to last for 5 years, 10 years, just 2 years? No idea. So they paused hiring, they froze hiring. And then what happened is, once they realized that the pandemic is starting to be under control, they opened up positions. And now there is a big issue that the companies were facing. For the last 6 months, 8 months that they had paused hiring, the headcounts had kept increasing in each teams. Right? So when they opened up hiring, all of a sudden there were hundreds of openings across each of the verticals in these companies. Right? Just to give you a little bit of idea, Google, when they lifted up hiring freeze in the month of around October, November in 2020, they had close to 3x of hiring count that they usually do.
Right.
Just 3x in 1 month, and that's
big number.
It's a very big number. Yes. So the way I look at it is, if people are backing off right now, I would say it's the right opportunity to start upskilling. It's not the best time to apply for jobs right now, but it's the best time to start upskilling. And in the next 5 to 6 months, that's the ideal time that you take to prepare extremely well for a company like Google and Microsoft. By then, you're completely prepared. and then they are going to open up hundreds of positions, and it gets easier for you to get into these kind of companies. That's the way I look at it right now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aditya. Thank you really for your time, and we really got to know a lot about things. And I will keep following you and HeyCoach. I mean, I really see some great growth there. So
Thank you so much.
and
Thank you for having me here. Wonderful.